Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Hess. Thank you for coming in today. How are you both doing? I'm glad to hear it. I'm doing quite well. Thank you for asking. Happy New Year and welcome back. I see you guys were both in Europe for the last few weeks. How was that? Sounds like a relaxing start to the new year. Congratulations, by the way, on the business sale and both retiring. Were you able to spend the holidays with Edward, Brent, and the grandkids? Glad to hear it. So today we're going to cover your financial plan. We're going to, as you notice in front of you, we've got a lengthier document. This is the comprehensive financial plan itself. It'll cover everything from cash flow, insurance, investments, tax, retirement, estate, in a lot of detail. And then we have our executive summary, which will summarize the financial plan, and that's what we'll deliver today. Any questions or anything you'd like me to point out that you haven't listed already? Okay, great. Before we start, I do want to just disclose that you guys were obviously referrals from your insurance agent, and they've offered me a sum of $4,333 if you decide to become clients, and would ask that I recommend them for any insurance side of the financial plan that I recommend. By no means feel the need to use them. Feel free to shop around. I'm happy to review any insurance policy recommendations that any insurance agent gives, and we can make sure those are in line. Great. And as your wealth advisor, I'm held to the highest fiduciary standards, meaning everything I recommend, anything I suggest, any advice that I give is in your best interest. Great. So going forward, going into the plan itself, before we start, I wanted to just revisit the scope of engagement, the purpose of the plan, and your goals. So what you've asked me to do is develop a comprehensive financial plan that'll help you meet your goals and improve your financial position. You would like a statement of net worth and review of your current insurance policies and make sure you're properly covered. You would also like a recommendation on long-term care, whether it's something that I believe you would need, because I saw that you've been interested in it and considering it. And you'd also like a review of the investments that you currently have. Thank you for uploading all of those statements. Appreciate it. And recommendations for best ways to employ the income from the installment payments and the down payment and how that affects your taxes, as well as estate taxes. So the plan we're going to cover today is going to act as a framework for helping you reach those goals and objectives. It's going to consist of sections for each of the following subject areas: your financial health, risk management, investment planning, retirement planning, tax planning, as well as estate planning. We're going to conclude today's meeting with an action plan, and which will identify the actions needed to implement the most essential planning recommendations. So in the last meeting, we talked about goals, and what we decided were the main goals that you have from the goal setting worksheet are: reduce any estate and gift tax liability, ensure all estate planning documents are in order, review the insurance contracts that you currently have and discuss any implications of purchase of a long-term care policy, ways to reduce your personal income tax, and recommend a diversified portfolio that meets your investment needs and expectations. We'll also ensure that there's $40,000 available for that new car purchase. Any other goals that have come up since that last meeting that we should account for? Okay, great. Well, then we'll keep going. So the first thing, this is going to go with your investments as well as your risk management. We're going to talk about the risk tolerance. So you both have completed our risk tolerance questionnaire. Thank you for doing that. And one of the other things we talked about in the last meeting was your where you fall. And we agreed that even though you're in your retirement, which is typically considered the spending phase, you do have this income coming in from those installment payments, and you are willing and able to take on a high degree of risk to grow your investments and distribute the maximum to your heirs, being your children and your grandchildren. So I know you have a history of lung cancer in your family, which I sympathize with. I've had family members pass away from lung cancer as well. So that being said, I've haven't we have not considered any tobacco stocks. Nothing in the plan will include any stocks related to tobacco. We also use the assumptions that you're at the highest marginal tax bracket, and inflation is around 2.25%. Risk-free rates around 1%, and the market risk premium is 7%. These will be important because these are what we used in our calculations in the financial plan. So tackling the topic of your financial health. So we've created the following documents and were prepared and are attached in the statement of financial position, ratio analysis, and statement of cash flows. So your current situation, you currently sit with a net worth of $13,763,086 with a net disposable income of $1,106,254. This means that of the income coming in, that 1 million or $1.1 million figure is what is not being deployed towards liabilities. And your net worth of the 13.763 million does align with your concern of the estate tax implications. So that being said, we've also calculated financial ratios that measure financial status compared to benchmarks. One that's came out quite high is your current ratio, which shows your current assets divided by your current liabilities and your ability to pay off those liabilities as they come due within 1 year. Typical benchmark is anywhere from 0 to 1. And you came in quite high at 44. What that means is you're more than able to pay off any liabilities or debts that come in or come due within this year. I'll have some recommendations later on around that number and what we can do with some of that excess cash. But not having a mortgage on your primary residence has eliminated a large source of debt or liabilities that most people have. So the vacation homes mortgage is nominal. It doesn't affect your liabilities to a extensive degree. So we factor that in, but you're more than able to pay that mortgage. Your current savings and emergency fund is significantly higher, like I said. It's it's around 44 times higher than the actual benchmark. However, being in retirement, having a cushion there is something I would recommend, but maybe we'll decrease that amount of cushion that you have. So we'll address the need for the cash reserve and maximize your legacy while still minimizing the estate tax. Your main home, the principal residence, we have a fair market value of $900,000. When the vacation home, a fair market value of $750,000. And the mortgage remaining on that vacation home is $49,275 at a 5% interest rate. And so to improve your current financial position and accomplish one or more of your goals, we reviewed the statement of cash flow to determine if some expenses could be reduced and savings applied to reduce the taxable estate while maximizing investment returns. For example, taxes currently account for 58.78% of your income. We can implement tax-efficient strategies and ways to maintain your current lifestyle while also maximizing returns and minimizing the tax impact. Typically, we'll do this through tax-efficient investing, tax loss harvesting. You're already charitable, so we'll account for your charitable giving, and then we'll through the estate planning, be able to maximize the returns, minimize the impact of taxes. And the $40,000, we've got that set aside in cash, and we won't account for that in the plan. One expense that's quite high, and I know it's been a big year for you, so it might have just been the celebrations there, but it's vacation, entertainment, dining out, and fun money. So you spent $43,500 per year, which is one of your larger expenses aside from your insurance premiums. So to maximize the success of your plan and to grow your investments, I would suggest decreasing this expenditure by 50%. So going from $43,500 per year to actually $21,750 per year. Does that seem feasible? Okay, great. Yeah, I know this was a big year of celebration, so that number got a little bit bigger there. So implementation, we'll go ahead and invest the excess cash so that we're more in line with your goals of maximizing the amount to leave to Edward, Brent, and the grandkids. And we'll begin tax efficient strategies of growing your wealth by itemizing tax deductions, doing tax loss harvesting, and I would also suggest a donor advised fund. We'll revisit this later on, but that will be a way to minimize taxes as well as continue your charitable giving. Retirement planning is not a concern of yours. So because you have multiple streams of income coming in currently through the installment sales as well as Social Security. But I do think that after the installment sale is complete for the next 8 years, we should revisit the retirement planning side of it. I would recommend revisiting the risk tolerance questionnaire as well as we get closer to the end of the installment payments, just because then you'll be in that purely spending phase where now you're taking out more than what's going into the investments. Any questions there? Right. Next, we're going to cover the insurance side of it. So if you look at the executive summary, we've got a summary of risk management, and a scenario was prepared in the financial plan to identify any weaknesses in your insurance coverage regarding your auto, health insurance, annuities, all of that. In addition, a life insurance needs analysis was conducted for both of you. And all of those documents are attached for review in the financial plan. A review of your current risk management position demonstrated the following strengths and weaknesses. First, the general rule of thumb is about you want at least 80% of the fair market value of your home covered. So that being said, the policy for the primary residence should be about 80% of $775,000. So that number comes from the value of your home itself and not the property. So that 80% of that would be $620,000. So that's the policy we would like for the coverage on the main home. Your current policy is only $400,000, which represents a shortfall of $35,983 if there was damage of $100,000 on your house. So yeah, it could be a big out-of-pocket expense there. Additionally, the policy on the vacation home should also be around 80%, and the value of your vacation home is $550,000. So 80% of that would be $440,000, while the current policy is actually for $460,000, which is more coverage than is actually needed on the vacation home. So what that means is if you had a similar $100,000 loss on your vacation home, your insurance would actually pay you $103,045. So in excess of $3,045, which might sound good. However, the downside is the premiums you're paying for if that instance occurred are higher than they would be, and you're paying more than is needed for that vacation home. Second, John, your life insurance policy. I understand you're considering gifting it to Jack, Eugene, and Beth equally. So the the gifting of this will decrease the estate value for tax purposes, and this would need to be done through strategic planning. One thing that I would consider or and recommend would be an irrevocable life insurance trust. So you might know them as ILITs. This can be a powerful estate planning tool because it'll allow you to gift it through that trust and allow John, you and Mary to gift split it. So if you gifted the full $2 million amount to the grandchildren and split it equally, the only taxable net taxable gift would be $598,666 combined for you two. Mary, your life insurance policy of $400,000, I believe is sufficient to cover any expenses for John if something was to happen to him. Third, you expressed interest in that long-term care insurance policy. Honestly, I do believe it would be beneficial. With your net worth investable assets, you could fund any long-term care out of pocket. However, it's more expensive. And with your goals of maximizing your legacy to leave to your heirs, that would decrease that amount significantly. So I believe a long-term care policy would be effective. The policy I would recommend is a comprehensive policy that allows each of you to share the other's policy benefits. The benefits will be paid for 3 years or up to $360,000, whichever comes first. John, the annual premiums for you would be $6,400 and Mary $5,330 for you. However, the positive of this is there's a tax deduction on premiums. So if we itemized your income taxes, the total allowable deduction would be $10,730. Fourth, John, your non-qualified single premium annuity, or the SPDA, which is to pay $500 a month for life or 300 payments. This is payments wise a total of $150,000 for over 25 years. If you decided to annuitize the annuity, the taxable amount on the first payment, which would be the $500, that taxable amount would be $416.67. As you are already both taking Social Security, you have the installment payments from the business. I don't believe that 500 extra dollars will be necessary, especially with your concerns of income tax. So I would recommend we revisit the possibility of annuitizing after the installment payments have ceased, and we can look into the possibility of establishing a trust for the annuity to decrease any taxable ramifications of that. Your automobile policy looks adequate and would pay $13,450 of a $14,000 claim. So just that $550 would be coming out of pocket. And your Medicare health insurance policy, however, might not be adequate due to the $4,395 annual premium and your out-of-pocket costs of $7,500 a year. Because of this, I would recommend adding a supplemental health insurance policy such as Medigap. Finally, because of the rarity and the value of the 1918 inverted Jenny stamp, I believe there should be a collectible insurance policy on the stamp. This will insure it in case of damage or theft. Any questions on risk management? Any of the insurance policies covered? Perfect. Well, next, we're going to talk about investment planning, and an investment policy statement and analysis of the investment portfolio is included in your financial plan. And your current situation, we did identify some weaknesses that need to be addressed. So although there's around 71% of the portfolio in non-qualified accounts, that's $940,000 in the stock portfolio, and $2,907,682 in the mutual fund portfolio. as well as 29% in qualified accounts from the $1,054,540 in John's 401k and the $545,000 in your 403b, Mary. The portfolio as a whole, although those are large numbers, is underperforming on a total risk adjusted basis as measured by the Sharpe ratio. John's 401k is well managed, and I would not make changes to that other than a bit of diversification. And I do think we should roll that into a traditional IRA for more investment flexibility as well as ease of access, because you're getting close to that required minimum distribution age. Mary, your 403b, on the other hand, based on your risk tolerance and goals, may be a bit too conservative. It's in a time-dated fund. What happens there is when you first started the 403b, it would be aggressively managed. As you get closer to retirement, it starts to dampen down on the risk tolerance, go more heavily weighted towards cash and fixed income. And based on your goals, I don't know that this is aligned. So I would suggest, again, Mary would roll your 403b into a traditional IRA as well. Again, for more investment options and easier access if needed. Regarding the non-qualified accounts, I would suggest leaving the mutual fund as is for now, since it is well diversified. However, I would suggest making changes to the stock portfolio to improve diversification and capitalize on losses for tax loss harvesting strategy. There's a large weighting towards stock D that I would suggest rebalancing, and a large loss in stock A that we can use for that tax loss harvesting strategy. So my recommendations would be to diversify the portfolio, because there are only those 4 stocks within the stock portfolio that has a value of, a cost basis of $960,000 and a fair market value of $940,000. So it's currently at a loss. A tax loss harvesting strategy can be used to create a $163,000 loss in the current tax year by selling both stock D at a gain of $55,000 and selling stock A at a loss of $218,000. If we completely rebalance the portfolio, we would only realize a tax loss harvest of $20,000. So stock A and D are the ones that we would initially sell to rebalance, or going back to that donor advised fund, we could donate some of the larger appreciated funds to the donor advised fund for charitable giving. Second, because of Mary's risk tolerance, we're going to move the money from her 403b into a traditional IRA. So we have more available investment opportunities and are able to rebalance it to a more aggressive portfolio strategy. Most likely, we would go into a S&P 500 tracking ETF due to the ETF's low costs and there's no ability to tax loss harvest within the qualified accounts. So we don't need to go into individual positions there. I, again, also recommend rolling John's 401k into a traditional IRA so we can offset the $11,000 of earned income for the year. What I mean by that is, because you have earned income of $11,000 with a traditional IRA, we would be able to contribute. So it would be $7,500 for you, John, that we could contribute from that $11,000, and then the remaining $3,500 we can contribute to Mary's traditional IRA. There is a substantial amount of money held in cash and cash equivalents that I would recommend we begin dollar cost averaging into the non-qualified accounts to maximize returns, offset some of the market risk, and the non-qualified accounts will be receive a step up in basis at each of your deaths. So it'll be a more tax conscious and efficient way of leaving a legacy than just leaving the 401k and 403b. Finally, we recommend that based on your charitable giving, that we set up a donor advised fund. And when the RMD time comes due, we'll do qualified charitable donations of your required minimum distributions. If you accept these investment recommendations, we'll develop an asset allocation strategy for your portfolio that maximizes returns in a tax efficient manner and is more diversified and matches your high risk tolerance level. Any questions? Okay, great. Next, we're going to go through the summary of the retirement planning. So in the financial plan, we've attached a retirement plan analysis that was conducted, a net retirement plan analysis was not conducted because it is not an area of concern for you two, but we do have a few notes. After reviewing your cash flow needs, we believe you are well covered to handle your outflows with your inflow. Since you are not retired in a traditional sense, we still receive the monthly payments from the sale of your business. We can delay being completely in the spending phase because cash is still coming in. This allows us to take more investment risk than a normal client in retirement would be able to take, or we would suggest taking. It is evident that your current financial position is meeting your retirement goals. And that is why you didn't want the retirement planning. Once the payments from the business are no longer coming in, then we will truly be in the spending phase and we'll need to revisit our current strategy, including expenses and budgeting. This will involve lowering the risk tolerance, moving more money back to cash, and being strategic about which accounts we draw money from for tax planning purposes. Finally, we know maximizing the qualified accounts return was a goal to leave to the children. However, due to the Secure Act 2.0, that now enforces the 10-year rule, and based on the account values, now could impact your children's tax bracket. So what that means is, and we did an analysis of this, Mary, based off of your mother's IRA, if she passed away, and the Secure Act 2.0 has changed the rules. So previously, you were able to take required minimum distributions from an inherited IRA. Now you're forced to take all of the money out within 10 years. So that can put your children in a higher taxable bracket. And the scenario we ran for if your mother passed away, Mary, would be if you inherited her account value at $242,000 and took a distribution of $50,000, your taxable portion of that would be $47,520. So as you can see, it can put you into a higher tax bracket. So it's something to keep in mind as we plan for your legacy. Any questions there? Okay, great. So the next one we're going to go into is the summary of tax planning. Tax calculations for the treatment of John's business sale, down payment of $1 million, calculations for the treatment for the first installment payment, as well as calculations on the sale of the inverted Jenny stand, and itemized deductions for all prepared and are attached in the financial plan. A review of your current tax situation shows that changes can be made to reduce your income tax liability, and we'll go through those now. The investment income is currently taxed at the highest marginal tax rate. There are trusts we can establish to offset this and also allow to maintain your charitable giving. We suggest establishing a donor advised fund due to your charitable giving, and this will allow you to offset some of the large gains you have in your non-qualified accounts, like the mutual fund portfolio, where we do not have any ability to tax loss harvest. Due to the earned income of $11,000, we would recommend doing traditional IRA contributions to decrease your earned income and your income tax by that $11,000. So then going into the down payment, so the $1 million from the business sale would have a return of basis of $168,750 and a realized and recognized long-term gain of $831,250, which will be taxed at a rate of 20%. We can then, and we've done a hypothetical sale for you here of if you've done it differently. The positive of doing the installment sale is we know these installment payments are coming. So we can use tax loss harvesting in the non-qualified accounts to offset part of the gains. The first installment payment that you'll receive starting March will be $36,466, with a taxable amount of that of $3,850, also taxed at long-term capital gain. And I apologize, I misspoke there. Of that $36,446 installment payment, the realized and recognized long-term capital gain would be $20,296. So a bit higher than that figure I gave you. I apologize for the discrepancy there. And assuming you sell the 1918 inverted Jenny stamp in 10 years for a value of $2,550,000 with a 15% commission, you would realize a gain of $1,667,500 at a tax rate of 28%, with a liability would be $466,900. Oh, sorry, $466,900. The good news is because we have the 10 years to plan and be aware of the sale if you decide to do it, we can choose this sell the stamp, and that means we can lock in losses to offset part of that taxable gain as we get closer. For the 2023 tax year, if you assumed itemized deductions, you'd be able to deduct $23,500, which includes the $10,000 max for the property and state tax, as well as the full $13,500 for the charitable donations, since that amount is less than 60% of your adjusted gross income. Also, if you contribute to the IRAs, $7,500 to John's and $3,500 to Mary's to lower your taxable income for the year by $11,000. And then, and that is a great question, Don. You're right. Mary does not have earned income for the year, but using a spousal IRA, because you're married filing jointly, we're able to use your income to contribute to Mary's. And that allows for that remaining $3,500 to go to Mary's. Any questions? So the next is the summary of estate planning, and documents. We've done a property ownership spreadsheet and estate tax calculations were prepared and attached in the financial plan. And your primary residence is currently owned as joint tenants in common, and the vacation home is solely in John's name. So we'll want to make sure that the vacation home is at minimum put in joint tenants as well. And we'll want to revisit with the estate planning attorney options for trusts to establish so that the main home can go into the trust, and the vacation home does not have to go through ancillary probate. There are no essential estate planning documents in place, such as powers of attorney, healthcare proxies, anything like that to manage your affairs if something were to happen to either of you, or either of you became incapacitated. So we'll want to revisit that with the estate planning attorney. Both of your life insurance policies increase your estate, so it's worth considering establishing an ILIT, like we discussed before. So recommendations would be, we suggest placing your residence in the name of the trust, which will offer the same benefit of avoiding probate, but can also offer the benefit of reducing estate taxes if we place it in an irrevocable trust. Also, we suggest placing the vacation home ownership in a trust as well, so we can avoid ancillary probate. And John's CD at the central bank should be titled in joint tenants as well. We'll need to change the title of the boat, your autos for sole. They're currently in sole ownership to tenants by entirety to avoid probate costs. These changes would automatically transfer the properties to the surviving spouse at the first spouse's passing, which is compatible with your objectives. We should also place the stamp in a trust to ensure if it's not sold, then the ownership passes on as intended. And we'll need to visit with the estate planning attorney to obtain power of attorney, healthcare proxies, create revocable and irrevocable trusts, as well as that irrevocable life insurance trust. An appointment with the estate planning attorney is needed to accomplish these estate planning objectives and should be made as soon as possible. The cost for implementing these typically around $10,000, which we have accounted for in the as a cash value in the joint checking account. Great. Any questions on anything we've discussed so far? So the next thing we're going to go into is actually the action plan. So this is how we'll implement all the strategies that we've indicated earlier. So if there's no questions, we'll go into the action plan, and if everything makes sense and you're comfortable, then I'll continue. Great. So several financial strengths were identified during the financial planning process analysis. However, our analysis also indicated that 6 specific areas need immediate attention. These recommendations are aligned with your goals and will help you improve your financial position. So first, we want to visit with the estate planning attorney as soon as possible to obtain proper estate planning documents and any trust needed to plan for either spouse's incapacity or passing. This is the first goal you identified, which requires immediate attention, and an attorney can assist you with implementing all the estate planning document recommendations that we made in this plan, including life insurance trusts, any further actions needed for the installment payments, being in placing that in any trust or any beneficiary designation we need to put for that. We'll need to increase the homeowner's policy for the primary residence, as it is currently not sufficient to adequately protect the value of the home. We'll also need to decrease the homeowner's policy on the vacation home, as you currently have too much coverage on the home. We'll need to call your insurance agent this week to begin the process of implementing these changes, as well as discussing a collectible insurance policy for the 1918 inverted Jenny stamp. The value of the installment payments mean you're not currently in the spending phase, so it's important to speak with your estate planning attorney to determine if the proper estate planning is in place for these payments, and to make sure that if something were to happen to John, that Mary continues to receive the payments. We'll decrease the cash value and cash equivalents to invest in the non-qualified accounts. We identified a surplus of cash that is not needed at this time. Recommend investing 50% of the $400,000 of the CD position to the non-qualified accounts. Begin an automatic investment plan to dollar cost average in the $400,000 by transferring $66,000 per month, which will average into the investments over a 6-month time frame. Then we'll also diversify the stock portfolio while maximizing tax loss harvesting. We'll roll over both John's 401k and Mary, your 403b, into traditional IRAs and contribute the $11,000 of earned income into the IRAs by splitting the amount $7,500 to John's and $3,500 to Mary's traditional IRA. Our firm can develop an investment allocation strategy for you that maximizes investment returns, minimizes taxes, and is in line with your risk tolerance. We'll present our investment planning recommendations for you at our next meeting. How does all of that sound? Great. Do you want to plan to meet again in 2 weeks? Amazing. I will go ahead and get that on the schedule now. Perfect. Any other questions? Well, it was a pleasure, and I appreciate you both taking the time to meet with me today. Hope you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Thank you.